Hi everyone, Gary here from Discover On again with yet another of my videos for you. In this video today, I'm going to tell you the stories of how some classic British myths and legends came into being. Many years ago, most of these stories started. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about some of the more famous and the more well-known British myths and legends. So here we go. England, Scotland and Wales are full of ancient legends, myths so old their origins are lost in time many years ago. Some of these stories and tales, like Robin Hood for example, have made their way to Hollywood and have been made into films several times over the years, even going back I think probably to the 1940s or so. A story much loved by Hollywood, Robin Hood became a figurehead for the triumph of good over evil. The earliest historical references to a Robin Hood type figure go back to the 12th century, but the main body of historical evidence that we have comes from the 15th century. This lovable outlaw and his band of merry men were praised for robbing the rich to give to the poor, outwitting the evil sheriff of Nottingham and remaining loyal to their beloved King Richard. The story of Robin Hood is perhaps best viewed in the light of the fact that in reality, if he existed, he was probably just a figure who stood up for the downtrodden at that time. If there's one legend that can be said to encapsulate the idea of Britain in ancient times, that has to be the legend of King Arthur. The most famous of British kings was said to have defended the country against Saxon invaders as far back as the 5th and 6th centuries, and he's been the subject of numerous stories, many stories, tales, probably even films as well, of course, that have achieved mythical status in Britain. Everyone is familiar with the stories of King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. The Round Table was a powerful symbol, and it was said to be round to avoid arguments between the knights over who was the most important. King Arthur has come to represent the battle, again like Robin Hood, the battle against good and evil. But the myth and romance surrounding him have little basis actually in historical fact. And there's been much debate over whether he actually existed at all. Only vague traces of historical and archaeological evidence still exist to this day, and there's many different versions of his story. So let's move on to another classic British legend here. St. George. The English flag, of course, which is a red cross on a white background, is the flag of St. George, our legendary dragon slayer. The tale dates back to the 10th century and is thought to have been brought back to Britain from the east by the Crusaders. The original legend, recorded in the 12th century, goes that St. George slew a dragon that was terrorizing a town in Libya. Infected with the plague, the dragon was kept happy by being fed 2 sheep a day until the sheep ran out and other townspeople had to give it their children instead, chosen by lot. When the king's daughter was chosen and the king failed to persuade the people to spare his daughter, St. George came in and saved the day. Capturing the dragon, St. George promised to kill it if the people converted to Christianity. That's it for now. There'll be more myths and legends in part 2 of my video, so stay tuned. See you soon.